Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us coming here to learn the language of the noble Quran. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us sadqa jariyah for our parents and make our children sadqa jariyah for us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to learn the language of the noble Quran and then teach others. Ameen Ya Rab. I welcome you, my respected sisters, to today's class. I hope everybody is doing well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your hard work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in knowledge. Ameen Ya Rab. If you all are able to hear me clearly, please give me some feedback in the chat window and then we'll start the class, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So today we will be starting, inshallah, chapter 3, which is our lesson 6 of level 7. I hope you will find today's lesson very easy. It is actually very easy. There will be some new information here and there, but more or less you will find this a very, very easy lesson. However, having said that, bear in mind, this chapter is very long. It has got over 20 exercises and around 4 pages of text. So perhaps we're going to take some time on that because as we will progress in this chapter, we will come across things which we know about them, but we don't know much detail about them today. And in the upcoming classes, inshallah, we'll look into that. So chapter 3 is about al-fi'lul mabniyu lil majhuli. What is that? Let's see, inshallah. So how many types of verbs? Who can tell me, sisters? How many types of verbs are there? Let's see what you think. Please do write in the chat box so I can see when you hear the word type, is your mind limited to the type or your mind is open? And while you are writing your replies in the chat box, isn't it everything can have many types from different angles? So if we say brother Zaid and sister Fatima, first of the distinction is one is male, another is female. Then if you look at two sisters, sister Zainab and sister Shahnaz, or brother Hamid and brother Ali, again, those two groups are same within themselves, but then there are types. Some of one of them may be a student, one of them may be working at the moment, one of them may be married, one of them may be not married, right? So there could be divisions within divisions as possible, and this is how you learn the knowledge. So usually when somebody say how many types of verbs are there, you will immediately think in terms of tenses and say past tense, present tense, and comparative. But there are other types, other ways of looking at the verb as well. Some of you already know, like in the verbs, you know there are two type of verbs: sound verbs and weak verbs. When it comes to the root letters, you know that the verbs are, some verbs are 3-letter verbs and some are 4-letter verbs. There's another distinction. Some verbs require maf'ulun bihi. Some verbs do not require maf'ulun bihi. Some verbs are happy with only one maf'ulun bihi. Some verbs are not happy with one maf'ulun bihi and they have two maf'ulun bihi. So there could be many types of one certain thing. So you don't have to be uh, boxing your mind and thinking, no, this thing has got only one type. So today we will see verbs from a different angle. So verb can be an active verb or verb can be a passive verb. What is active verb? We know what is active verb. All day long, the way we use verbs is an active verb. What is passive verb? So in active verb, you have a doer known, doer is mentioned, right? In passive verb, you do not see the doer. So doer of the action is not known or not mentioned in passive verbs. Don't worry about it. We've just begun. Just calm down and you will see and you will get all the answers, inshallah. Passive verbs are made in three steps. So we'll straight away dive into passive verbs. Once we will start doing passive verbs, automatically you will understand that what is active verb. That's the verb we use day in, day out. So here we go. This is active verbs versus passive verbs. So what is active verb? Kataba, he wrote. So you know who is writing, right? Or who wrote? He wrote. Fataha, he opened. Nasara, he helped. So you know every time this he is coming. So somebody is being pointed towards in this verb because we know that the fi'il cannot exist without the fa'il. But what I'm going to say next will make you think what I just said one thing and now I'm saying another thing, but we will go into the detail of that. Don't worry. So, active verb is a verb in which doer is known, whereas in passive verb, doer is not known. Have a look at the example. Kataba, he wrote. Kutiba, it was written. But who wrote it? We don't know. Fataha, he opened. Futiha, it was open. We don't know who opened it. Nasara, he helped. Nusira, he was helped. Daraba, our favorite verb, he hit. But Duriba, he was hit. So we don't know who is doing the action of hitting. Akala, he ate. Ukila, it was eaten. Qara'a, he read. Uriya, it was read. Sami'a, he heard. Sumi'a, it was heard. So you see, this is the difference between active and passive verbs. There are a few more things to know, and inshallah we will do that. So moving forward, passive verbs are made in three steps. I'm trying to make things very simple, sisters. I'm trying to go step by step and then we will unfold the details, inshallah. I hope by doing this way, you will be able to absorb more. Passive verbs are made in three steps and a change in name or the Arab. So, what is active verb is called in Arabic is called al-fi'lul mabniyu lil ma'lumi. What is passive verb is called al-fi'lul mabniyu lil majhuli. But I don't want you to remember these names. These are there, so just you saw it. We don't really need to go into the Arabic terminology right now. We just want to understand the concept. So here is the example of an active verb. قرأ بلال الكتاب. So قرأ is our fail madi, past tense. Who is Bilal? Bilal is the one who did the action. So Bilal is the one who read. What did he read? Al-Kitaba. He read the book. So Al-Kitaba is maf'ulun bihi and is obviously mansub and we know fa'il is always marfu. So I hope all of you know what is active verb and these are the verbs we have been studying, right? We all know that. What is passive verb? And I said to you, it's made in three steps. So what passive verb? In passive verb, three things happens. First, the form of the verb gets changed. So I'll give you three things first. Hathful fa'il. And you come up with something in place of fa'il, and then you change the shape or the form of the verb. So what do? You change the spelling of the verb. You delete the fa'il. So doer is gone. Hence it will become majhul. Hence it will become passive. And instead of doer, you bring something else to sit in the chair of the doer. We will do in more details. Don't worry, we've just opened the lesson. But have a look at this because if we look carefully at this slide, then the upcoming lesson will become very easy and it'll make much sense to us. So Quriya is our fail madi, but this is different spelling than qara'a. We will see what is happening here in a minute, but right now we are just explaining on the surface level. So you see the spelling of the active verb was different. Qaf has got a fatha, Ra has got a fatha, the last letter had a fatha, whereas it changed, the first letter got the dhamma, second last letter got the kasra, and the last letter remained the way it was. So one step was to change the looks of the verb, to change the spelling of the verb, and that was changed. Second was to delete the fa'il. Here we had Bilal, here Bilal is gone. So two steps done. Third is what? Third is we have brought in something else at the place of fa'il. What did we bring? We brought maf'ulun bihi to sit in the chair of the fa'il. But then here we are saying it is made in three steps with the change in name and Arab. So we have seen three steps here. We have changed the spelling of the verb, we deleted the file, and we made maf'ulun bihi sit in the chair of the file. And what name happened? What change of the name happened? Here, al-kitab was maf'ulun bihi mansub, but when it came and sat in the chair of the fa'il, the name is no more maf'ulun bihi. It will be given a new name, na'ibu fa'ilin, deputy of the fa'il. You know, the president of the country, when he travels abroad, who takes his seat? Vice president, right? Or deputy president, however you call it. So the manager is gone out of the company, gone on holiday, who takes up? Deputy manager takes his seat. So here is what happening. So our mafulun bihi is sitting in the chair of fa'il. Now we cannot say it's mafulun bihi because it has got a dhamma, right? So i'rab has also changed, it became marfu. Now because mafulun bihi is always mansoob, and now we know mafulun bihi is sitting here, but the i'rab has changed to marfu instead of mansoob, we need to change the name. If we say it is mafulun bihi, then how will we justify that this is marfu? So the name changed to na'ibu fa'ilin. The crux of it is, if we revise this slide once again, verbs are of two types, active verb and passive verb. When verb becomes the passive verb, three changes, the sentence goes through three changes. The form of the verb or the spelling of the verb will be changed. The file or the doer of the action will be deleted, and maf'ulun bihi will come and sit in the chair of the doer. And along with that, the name of the maf'ulun bihi will be changed to na'ib fa'il. And the i'rab will change into marfu. Before it was mansub, now it will become marfu. So when we see Quri al-Kitabu, what's the translation? The book was read. Here we go. We have some more explanation here with examples of active and passive side by side. So you see, we have said it's made in three steps and a change in name and Arab happens. So let's look at this slide. Kataba talibu darsa. The student wrote the lesson. Now this is an active verb. How do we know? Because we can see who is the doer, and we can also see mafulun bihi, which is the object, meaning on which the action was done. When it became passive, it became kutibat darsu. The lesson was written. So kaf fatha, ta fatha, ba fatha. This was the spelling. It changed into kaf dhamma, ta kasara. So two spellings changed, two harakat changed. The last one remains same. It became kutiba. This was change number one, where we changed the spelling of the verb. Second change was we had to delete the fa'il. So we see in this sentence, which is a passive verb sentence, we don't have a talibu. The doer is gone. Then what happened? Ad-darsa was our mafulun bihi and it was mansub. Now it is coming and sitting in the chair of fa'il. So the name has been changed to na'if fa'il and Arab has changed into marfu. The transition will be the lesson was written. We don't know who wrote the lesson. Now another example. Fataha rajulul baba. The man opened the door. If you make it passive, it will become the door was open. We don't know who opened. Nasar Allahul mu'minina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped the believers. In this sentence, Nusir al mu'minuna. Nusir al mu'minuna. The believers were helped. And then Darabal waladu al kurrata. The boy hit the ball. So now we know that this is the boy who is hitting the ball, not anybody else. But here you see duribatil kurratu. The ball was hit, so we don't know who is the doer. Is everybody getting the point, sisters? This kind of passive verb is very common in news. So you will see somebody was killed, something has happened, and they don't know who has done it, because when the news breaks, then usually the name of the doer is not there. So they speak in passive verb. So every time you will see something has happened, but you don't know what has happened. For example, if you take another example, saraqa lissu al hatifa. The thief stole the phone. right? We know this is a active sentence, active verb sentence. Why? Because we know who stole the phone, the thief. But on the other end, if I say suriq al hatifu, the phone was stolen. We don't know who stole it, right? So this is what passive verb is. Is it clear, sisters? Everybody with me? Yeah. In fact, how this verb is made is not the topic of nahwa. It's not the topic of grammar. Scholars says, or some of the scholars says, this is the subject of sarf morphology. But it is given in the book, so we will touch upon as much as possible. As and when we will see something in the book coming in this regard, we will explain that. We will not go into many details. But before we do that, what is the reason for fa'il to be not known? Can anybody tell me why this can happen that the fa'il is not known? What could be the reason for that? Try. What is the ghaz? What is the reason why fa'il is not there? So the scholars say there could be many reasons. One reason is that fa'il, the doer, is not known. Another reason is fa'il is known, but it is so common knowledge you don't need to mention. It is already known, it is already understood. Another reason could be because of the fear. You know, some gangster has done something and you've seen it and you're mentioning to somebody else, you will say, I don't want to mention that person's name. I don't want to be in his bad book. Or some of your friend, they are just bullying type of a person and you are mentioning something else which involves them. You just take their name out. You don't mention their name. You just tell them what has happened. So another reason could be because of tahqir, because somebody who was doing or who has done this action is so much disliked that people don't even want to take that person's name. And there could be other reasons as well, but this is once again not the topic of our lesson, or the book is also not mentioning that. So we will not go into this detail, but I thought just it's a good idea for you to know that why a verb can be a passive verb. So any of these reasons or some more reasons are explained in the books could be the reason for the verb doer not known. Now, when we talk about the doer, this particular slide, let me give you a heads up. This is not today's lesson. This is here, so maybe some of you who already are studying this may have some questions, so they could see that these are also the topics which will be discussed in the later part of lesson. So doer can be a name and doer can be a pronoun. We all know that. So in this chapter, in today's lesson especially, we will only deal with the passive verb sentences where doer is known, where doer is not coming as dhamir. Because when the doer comes as the pronoun, then there are few more things we need to take care of. And this is the area where I think many people little bit struggle and they really have to focus. But this is not today's topic, so don't worry about it. So now this is our lesson. So now, inshallah, when we'll do the lesson, things will be very, very easy. So, ad-darsu thalithu, the third lesson. So the teacher is saying, Lima ta'akhartum ya ikhwanu. Why are you late, O brothers? First of all, this is lima, lam harf jar, and then ma of interrogation, questioning. But we know when the harf jar is connected with the interrogative adat, the tool of interrogation, then alif will be gone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون. It's not amma. Why? Because an is harf jar and ma is interrogative. That's why alif has been deleted. If you see here, lima. So li is harf jar and ma, we had mim and alif, but alif has been deleted. So az-Zubairu, so Zubair is answering, لأن المطعم فتح اليوم متأخرا. Now, couple of things here. Az-Zubair, why alif lam is coming? Jabir, there is no alif lam coming. Idris, there is no alif lam coming. We have seen Hamid, Zaid, Ali. We have never seen Alif lam coming like that. So the reason is there are some names in Arabic language by default they have alif lam. Az-Zubairu, Al-Husainu, Al-Hasanu. These are the names which have got alif and lam built in. So they always are written with alif and lam, except for certain conditions, which we will see inshallah. So what is Zubair saying? Zubair saying, Li Anna. What is Li Anna? Who can tell me, sisters? What are we doing here? What is happening? Can you tell me what is happening in Li Anna? Li is our harf jar and Anna is harf nasb wa tawqid. We have done that before. Li Anna belongs from Li harf jar and Anna belongs from Inna wa akhwatuha. So he's saying because the restaurant was open late today. Now, if you remember, we have always said that when there is a verb, there must be a doer. No action can exist without a doer. Everybody agrees? Yeah. Now, for a second, I don't want to confuse you, but I just want to make it clear because this is coming over and over again in the chapter. I don't want you to have questions in your mind and then you're not able to focus on what we are doing. If it was fataha, for a minute, consider this is not futiha. For a minute, consider it is not passive verb. If it was fataha and the no name would be mentioned, what would you say? You will say this is the fail madi and the fa'il is hidden. It is huwa. Kataba means he wrote. Fataha means he opened. So likewise, when the verb must have the doer, now verb, either it's an active verb, it will have a doer. If it's a passive verb, it will have a doer. The difference is the name. When it's an active verb, we will say the doer is called fa'il. When it is passive verb, then we will say now the name is na'ib fa'il. So this blue line, what you see here is basically showing you, is basically telling you that this is na'ib fa'il, which is damir, meaning huwa, and it is hidden. You see, this is one of the reason we have seen this. I told you that the hidden pronoun, but in the exercises, we will have lot many examples. So we will deal with it at that time. For now, we will just understand that huwa is hidden here. Futiha means it was open. So if you look at even the translation, futiha means somewhere the meaning of opening. But when say it was, it means we are talking about huwa. Huwa futiha. It was open. Yeah. So restaurant was open. However, we have given the noun here, but because noun is coming after the verb, we cannot say that this is the fa'il. We will always say that fa'il will come after the verb, right? Please don't feel yourself confused. We will continue. Things will become very easy. I'm just trying to explain few things to you here. So when you move forward, you don't have any questions. So another thing in this sentence is, look at the transition first, because the restaurant opened late today. Now I have a question. Who can tell me what is this mutaakhiran doing here? I want you to please think very hard and just think 2 weeks back. You will have the answer. What is this mutaakhiran doing here? Mutaakhiran is hal. Now look at the sentence. The restaurant was open, but in which condition it was open? It was open late. How do we know? I mean, what is the dalil that this is hal? So the dalil is, this is fadla. This part of the word is extra. Without it as well, the sentence was complete. And then we look at the Arab, we see this is mansub and this is extra here. And this is coming in the sentence, which gives us the indication that this is the hala, the condition when the restaurant was open, it was late. So, briefly speaking, lam is harf jar, anna is harf nasb wa tawkid, al mat'am is your ismu anna mansub, and where is the khabar? This whole jumla failure is your khabar. And if you break down this jumla failure into detail, then you will say this futiha is fail madi, but it's not ma'loom, it's majhul. So this is the difference here. You see, sisters, couple of weeks back, we were discussing that we should be able to know the word, because if we know the type of the word, we can see what is coming after that. And we will be more equipped and confident in giving the answer. You remember that we talked about other time about the types of the ism, types of the noun, that if we know that this noun is, for example, in the place of majrur, but it has got a fatha, you will get confused. But if you know that this noun is diptote, you will have no confusion. Likewise here, if you look at this word, futiha, and then you are giving the i'rab, if somebody does not know what is futiha or does not know the concept of the naib file, what they will say, this is a verb and the file is hidden. Totally wrong answer. Because first of all, yes, this is a verb, but this is a passive verb. Because you know the passive verb, you will not make this mistake by saying that the fa'ilun damirun mustatirun taqdiru huwa. You will not say that the file is hidden pronoun and it points towards huwa, because you know you can never say file after passive verb. You must say naib file. So I hope you are clear. And al yawma, this is zarf zaman and it's mansub, so it's adverb of time, and the last part is our hal. Then the teacher is saying, Mata futiha, when was it opened? So once again, futiha is the verb. Now let me ask you, where is the doer of this verb? This blue line. But what is this blue line should be called? Fa'il, fa'ilun damirun mustatiru taqdiru huwa, or we will say naibul fa'ili damirun mustatirun taqdiruhu huwa. I hope you are getting that. So Az-Zubair is responding, Futiha as-sa'ata as-sadisata. It was opened at 6 o'clock. It was opened at 6 o'clock. So what is Futiha? Once again, it's a passive verb. And where is the doer? Doer once again is na'ib file. How will you translate? It was opened. If it was Fataha, you would say he opened. So you see the difference? He opened tells you he is the one who is opening. It's not she. Maybe you don't know the name, but you know he, it's a male who opened it. But when you say futiha, now you don't know who opened it. You just know that it was open. So futiha sa'ata sadisa. So futiha is our fail madi. As-sa'a is zarf zaman. It's mansub. So this is adverb of time because it's 6 o'clock. And as-sadisa is, you could say sadisa is our not here. For this, as-sa'a. And then the teacher saying, وَمَتَى يُفْتَحُ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. Now here's the change. Who can tell me why it was futiha here and here it's become yuftahu? Very good, because now it is coming as mudare. Now it is coming as present tense. So how a active verb is turned into passive verb. In Madi, we know that the first letter will get Dhamma and second letter will get Kasra, and the last letter will remain the way it is. But if you have to use the passive verb for present tense, it is possible some action was done in past and you don't know who was the doer. It is also possible that some action is being now done, maybe something is happening outside your house, but you don't know who is doing it, but you know something is happening. Somebody's maybe breaking something, somebody's doing something, you don't know what. You just hear some bang coming and you know something has happened, but you know who's doing it. So how will you make the verb, if it's a fail mudare active, how will you make passive? It's simple. Your alamatul mudare, which is anit, hamza, noon, ya, and ta. So whichever verb you are using for the present tense, you will have one of the four letters attached to that. That letter will get dhamma, and the second last letter will get the fatha. So you see, example was here, yaktubu, kataba, yaktubu, and what it become? Yuktabu. He writes and it is written. So yaktabu means he writes or he is writing. You know, there are different ways of translating fail mudari depending on the context. This is not something new. We have done that. But now when you make it passive, the meaning will become it is written. You don't know who's writing. It is written. So this is in the same sense, the teacher is asking, وَمَتَى يُفْتَحُ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. When is it opened every day? So Jabir is saying, يُفْتَحُ السَّاعَةَ السَّادِسَةَ إِلَّا رُبَعَ. It is opened at 5:45. So now he's telling it is open because they don't know who every day opens it. Maybe the owner of the restaurant opens it. Maybe someday some of the staff members open it. So hence there is no person known. Hence it is said yuftahu. Yuftahu means it is open. No, we don't know who is doing this action every day. So then the teacher is saying, Ijlisu waftahul kitaba. Sit down and open the book. Aina kitabuka ya Idris? Where is your book, O Idris? So look, another verb is coming. So Idris is saying, Surika kitabi ya ustadu. My book was stolen, O teacher. So you see, he doesn't know who is stolen. If he knew the person's name, he would have said that. But he does not know. So he's saying, Surika. It was stolen. But why are we not using the word it here? Because kitab is present. So what was the actual sentence? The actual sentence could be Saraka Zaidun Kitabi. So Saraka was fail madi, Zaid was the file, and Kitabi was my book, right? And you understand, okay, let me just make it even more simpler. Let's say Saraka Zaidun Al-Kitaba. So now you know Al-Kitaba is mafulun bihi, Zaidun is fa'il, and Saraka is the verb. But if I make this as my book, I will say Saraka Zaidun Kitabi, my book. We know now Kitabi, ba will not get a fatha of mafulun bihi. Why? Because of the ya. We have studied that. Because there is a ya coming after that in mudaf ilayh form, so the fatha of the kitab became kasra. So we are clear with that. Come back to this sentence. So in this sentence, is saying Surika Kitabi. So Surika is your verb and Kitab is Naib file. Why? Because in the original sentence which I just told you, let me tell you once again, Saraka Zaidun Kitabi. So Saraka was the verb, Zaid was the file, and Kitabi was the mafulun bi object of the verb, my book. So here Kitabi is there and Zaid is gone because this is a passive verb. So Suriqa kitabi ya ustadu. If we look into the detail of that what is the verb, we'll see Suriqa is fail madi, mabni lil majhul. So it's a past tense and passive one. And kitabi is what? Kitab is naib fa'il. Why it is naib fa'il? Because in the original sentence, in the sentence when the verb was active, this was mafulun bihi. And we know that in the passive verb sentence, mafulun bihi becomes naib fa'il. So we will say kitab is naib fa'il. If you look at this color coding, yellow color is mentioning the passive verb and the blue color is mentioning naib fa'il. So Suriqa Kitabi ya Ustadu, my book was stolen. Is everybody clear with that, sisters? Because I know for some this is brand new. And I don't really want anybody to get confused here. I want you all to be on the same page. So Suriqa is fail madi. I'll use more English than Arabic so that it's first time so we don't have to get too much of technical terms. So surika is what? It is the past tense verb and it is a passive verb. What is kitabi? Kitab is the naib file and it is marfu because naib file is always marfu. We can't see dhamma on the ba of the kitab for the obvious reason because of the ya. And this ya is mudaf ilayh, and this ya is harf nida, and ustad is munada. Munada, after ya, the word which is coming is called munada. So I hope it is clear. Now the teacher is saying, Suriqa kitabuka, your book was stolen. He's having some kind of surprise. Mata wa aina, when and where? So Idris is saying, Suriqa al-barihata min ghurfati. It was stolen from my room. Wa ana ghaibun anha. I will not translate. I will ask you, which waw is that? It was stolen from my room. Wa ana ghaibun anha. Very good. What meaning does give ana ghaib? So when this action was happening, I was not there while I was absent from it. So what is this? This is wawul hal. This is wawul hal. Suriqa al-barihata min ghurfati. It was stolen from my room last night. وأنا غائب عنها, while I was absent from it. وسرقت معه أشياء أخرى أخر, and other things were stolen with it. ساعتي وحذائي ومعظم ملابسي, my watch and my shoes and most of my clothes. So you see, if you look at this here, once again, I don't want to confuse you, but if something is in the book, I can't simply skip that all the times. Surika, we have studied this verb a while ago, and we know this is passive verb, and the damir is hidden here, which is naib file. Why the ta is coming here? Leave this question for next lesson. Just this is for some reasons. I'm telling so that somebody may quickly start asking why there's a surika here and here's a tau, this tau tanis is coming. We will discuss with all of this inshallah in next lesson when the exercises will come. So the teacher is saying awwadakallahu minha. Awwada yu'awwidu means to compensate. This is the type of the word we have not studied, right? It is sarrafa yusarrifu. Awwada yu'awwidu. It means to compensate. And then he's saying uridul ana an as'alakum as'ilata. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compensate you for it. I want to now ask you questions. Fima darastum amsi. From that which you studied yesterday. Fi ayyi shahrin wulida Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In which month the Messenger of Allah was born? You see, wulida is not active, it is passive. This is a verb which comes like that. So Ahmad is saying, ولد صلى الله عليه وسلم في شهر ربيع الأول. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam was born in the month of Rabiul Awwal, first month of spring. So which verb is that? Walada yalidu, to give birth to. So the teacher is saying, وفي أي سنة ولد صلى الله عليه وسلم يا جابر. In which year was he sallallahu alayhi wasallam born? So I is coming here in majroor form, but we know I is a one of those, not one of one word among the questions which is more other words, other tools, other nouns which are used for asking questions are all mabni. Mata, aina, kaifa, hal, they don't change. But I can be marfu, I can be mansoob, I can be majroor, and I always comes as mudaf. You will not see I coming ever as mudaf ilayh or somewhere else. It will always come as mudaf. Which year? The transitions, which year? So Jabir is saying, Ma adri, I don't know. So the teacher is saying, Alam tadrusu hada? Did you not study this? Now this was tadrusuna. Noon has been deleted because of this lam. Because of this lam, this verb has become majzoom. And this hada, what is the Arab of hada? Who can tell me? This hada is maf'ulun bihi. This hada is maf'ulun bihi. So Hamza is Hamzatul Istifham. Lam is harfun nafyun wa jazmin, as we know that. And this verb tadrusuna, which has become tadrusu, it is fi'l mudare majzoom bilam. Because of the lam, it has become majzoom. And what is this wow doing here? This wow is for fa'il, right? Doers. So Jabir is saying, Bala, darasnahu. Yes, indeed, we studied that. And you remember, Hamza is coming and Lam is coming. So question is in negation. So how will you answer? You will not answer by saying Naam. Instead of Naam, you will say Bala. Yes, indeed, darasnahu, we studied it. Walakinnani nasitu, but I forgot or have forgotten. So al-mudarrisu, the teacher saying, Man ya'rifu hadha? Who knows this? So Idris is now answering, Wulida sallallahu alayhi wasallam ama sab'ina wa khamsimiyatin lil miladi. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam was born in the year 570 CE, Christian era or common era. Now, these numbers we have not done because numbers, the chapter of the numbers is quite deep and requires a lot of focus and requires a lot of practice. We have done some numbers in our previous levels, but when it moves above 100 and in thousands, and when you are going to write a lot of numbers in a sentence, then it requires a lot of understanding and practice. So we'll not go into the detail. However, I'll just quickly tell you what is the Arab of this whole sentence so you can see how numbers are being placed here. So ولدت. So ولد is our verb, فعل ماضي, and it's passive verb. And this two is naib file. We never say it is file. Remember, even it is coming after verb, but we will not say file. We'll say it's naib file because what is before that, it's not an active verb, it's a passive verb. So we must not say it's a file, it's naib file. And ama is zarf zaman. Once again, it's an adverb of time. So year, basically in transition. Khamsatin is mudaf ilay majroor because ama is coming here as mudaf and khamsatin is mudaf ilay. And then waw is harf atf and thamanina is majroor. And thalathumiyatin, again it is majroor. And this waw is atf and this alfin is once again majroor. And then this lam is lam harf jar, and then hijratin is ism majroor. So I hope you are getting that. And then المدرس وفي أي عام ولدت أنت يا أحمد. In which year you were born, O Ahmad? So why this anta is coming? He did not use, he could have said Ya Ahmadu. So this anta is coming for emphasis, like it was here for emphasis, because he's asking one by one. So this is just for the sake of emphasis. A sentence could be correct without anta here as well. So Ahmad is answering ولدت عام 67 وتسعمائة وألف للميلاد. I was born in the year of 1967. So the teacher is saying أين ولدت يا أحمد? Where were you born, O Ahmad? So Ahmad is saying ولدت في Pakistan. I was born in Pakistan. So once again, let me ask you, sisters, what is this two? What is the Arab of this two? Walid is the verb, we know that. And why it has become sukun, wulida has become wulid, because whenever you will attach a mutaharrik pronoun, an active pronoun, a pronoun which has got the haraka, the last letter of the verb will get sukun. We have studied that many times. So what is the name of this two? I will give you two choices. I think it is file, because after verb we always have a file. So if you think it's file, press 1. If you think I'm wrong, please press 2. Well done. It is naib fa'il, because if it was, it could be fa'il only if the verb before that is an active verb. If it's a passive verb, then we will not say this is fa'il. We will say this is naib fa'il, which is sitting in the chair of the fa'il. And then teacher is saying, Anta idhan Pakistaniyun. You are then a Pakistani. So even comes in the way of then, as a, it's also said it comes as the jawab, it comes as the response. Isma'u ya ikhwanu. Listen, O brothers. أشره الآن قاعدة نحوية مهمة. I will explain now an important grammatical rule. الفعل إما مبني للمعلوم وإما مبني للمجهول. The verb is either active or passive voice. So imma means either, or you can use in the sense of either and or. So he's saying the verb is either active voice or passive voice. And then he's giving the example. فمثل قتل يقتل. He killed or he kills. وأما المبني. Now bear in mind, when we say when we read here imma, Imma is for either and or, and this amma is tafsir. It's giving the explanation as for. Wa amma al-mabniyu lil-majhuli famithlu qutila yuqtalu. He was killed or he is being killed. So what we have studied in the beginning, now teacher is explaining that in the text. So once again, if you look at the text only, qatala yaqtulu means he killed or he kills. So this is active. We are looking at the word and we see the he is coming here. Whereas when you look at the translation of the passive verb, it is coming he was killed. Qutila. We don't know who killed it. Yuqtalu, he is being killed. Once again, we don't know who is the killer. So he's saying يحذف الفاعل مع الفعل المبني للمجهول. The doer is omitted with the verb built for passive voice. We have seen our three steps in this part of one step. ويسمى, and it is called نائب فاعل, and it is called deputy doer. وهو مرفوع, and it is nominative. نقول, we say قتل الجندي الجاسوس, the soldier killed the spy, or قتل الجاسوس, the spy was killed. So if you look at this sentence, قتل is the word, al-jundiyu is the file, which means soldier, al-jasusa is the spy, which is mafulun bihi. But now in this sentence, the person is known who killed the spy, soldier killed the spy. But in the second part of the sentence, which is coming with the passive verb, the verb changed. Qaf had a fatha, ta has a fatha. Now it changed into qaf had the dhamma, ta had the kasra, and lam remains as it was. It means it has become passive verb. So as soon as become passive verb, the doer got deleted. So doer is gone. Doer is not in this second sentence. And al jasusa, which was mafulun bihi, came and sat in the chair of the doer. When it's sat in the chair of the doer, its name got changed to naib fa'il. And because it is naib fa'il is always marfu like fa'il. So we have a dhamma coming here. And then teacher, here is the another example. يسمع الناس الأذان بوضوح. Wadaha yadihu means to be clear. The people hear the azan clearly. But here, yusma'ul adhanu biwuduhin. The adhan is being heard clearly. So annasu is gone. Annasu was the original doer in case of the active verb. When this active verb became passive verb, the doer got deleted and this mafulun bihi came and sat in the chair of na'ib fa'il. So it is no more called mafulun bihi. The name for this word now is naib fa'il, and it is no more mansub because mafulun bihi is mansub. Now he's sitting in the chair of fa'il. So this word is marfu, and biwuduhin remains as it is because this is just harf jar and the noun after that. And then ya Muawiyatu, O Muawiyah, ibn al-fi'la fi hadhihi al-jumlati lil-majhuli. This is not son. So he's not saying, oh, son of verb. He's using this verb, bana yabni, means to build. And from bana yabni, the fi'lun amr is ibn. So he's saying, ibn al-fi'la fi hadhihi al-jumlati lil-majhuli. Make the passive verb in this sentence. خلق الله الإنسان من طين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being from clay. So how will it be made? خلق الإنسان من طين. الإنسان هنا نائب فاعل. The human being was created from dirt. The human being here is the deputy doer. But remember one thing, sisters. Ulama says you never say in this kind of setup that this doer is not known. A'udhu billahi min dhalik. How is this possible? Do we not know who created Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So you never say that doer is not known here, right? You just say this is naib file. They have more detail and in very nice way, but let's not go into that. Inshallah, someday we will discuss that, how and why they say it and what Arabic name they use instead of majhul. Because when you say majhul, means unknown. So they don't use majhul over there, they use another term for that. So I think we will stop the lesson here because the lesson is going on and there are other things as well. Instead, what I'm thinking is we will look at the Arab of couple of sentences here. So now it's high time that we start understanding the Arab. I'm sure all of you know that, but practicing is always a good thing. So we will just pick one or two sentences. We'll do that, and then inshallah we'll end the class. So we have already done that. Well, let's do this again and let's see if everybody remembers it or you have forgotten because there were so many things coming which we have done before. Now it's time for you to write, sisters. I've already told you. So who can tell me what is the li'anna? We'll go word by word so you can write everything piece by piece in the chat box. It consists of how many words? One or two? If you think one, press one. If you think two, press two. Well done. It is two words. Li harf jar and anna is harf nasb wa tawkid. And then al mat'ama. What kind of word is that? Al mat'ama is ism ismu anna mansub. Well done, very good. And then we have futiha. So this is from akhawatu inna. This is ismu inna. Where is the khabar? The khabar is the whole jumla. Futiha al-yawma muta'akhiran. The whole sentence is coming and sitting in the chair of khabar. Like we could say, Inna Zaidan yadhhabu ila al-madrasati. So Inna was our from our akhawatu Inna, and Muhammadan was our ismu Inna, and the whole sentence yadhhabu ila al-madrasati kulla yawmin. He goes to school every day. That was our khabru Inna. So and if we when we go to uh, analyze this sentence in itself, then futiha, how will we describe futiha? What is the Arab going to be? It's fi'l madi, passive, lil majhul. And then if it is a verb, then it must have, from now onwards, learn one thing. Whenever you see verb, don't say it must have a doer. Now you should say it must have a doer or deputy doer. It must have a file or naib file. If you start practicing that in your mind, that every time you see verb, then you have to look for two things, one of the two, either file or either naib file, that will bring you back to the verb again. Because when you think naib file, you'll think, oh, let me check if the verb in itself is an active verb or is it a passive verb. So by doing that, you will become very, very strong. So you'll say futiha fil madi mabniyun lil majhuli. What is file here? نائب الفاعل ضمير مستتر تقديره هو. And what is اليوم? Can anybody remember that? What is اليوم? اليوم is ظرف زمان منصوب and متأخرا is حال منصوب. And as we said, this whole sentence is coming in the place of جملة فعلية خبر إن. You will find, sisters, passive verbs in the Quran so many times. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا. And when the Quran is recited, so it's not, the ayah is not telling who is reciting, when it is recited. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ نَفْخَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. نُفِخَ. You see, this is the passive, this is not active. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ أُطِّلَتْ. Once again, a passive word. يُعْرَفُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ بِسِيمَاهُمْ. يُعْرِفُ. It's not coming with ya, it's يُعْرَفُ. So you can understand this is فعل مضارع مبني للمجهول. And then we've seen خلق الإنسان من طين or خلق الإنسان من عجل. So I hope you all have understood that, and every time when you will recite the Quran, I hope that you will be able to identify, and whenever you will come across passive verbs, now you will say, yes, Alhamdulillah, I know it. So with this, if there's nothing else, then inshallah we'll end the class, sisters. And just to let you know, we haven't done any exercise in that. We were not even able to cover the whole chapter. So we will see what can you be given as homework this time. Uh, Whatever is possible, inshallah, that will be sent to you. So if there's nothing else, inshallah, we'll end the class. Okay, some of you wants to revise. All right. So basically, what we have seen today is that verbs, from the point of view of active and passive, they could be of two types: active verb or passive verb. We know active verb, so we don't need to go into detail. What is passive verb? In active verb, we know the doer. In passive verb, simply we don't know who the doer of the action is. Either it is not known or it is not mentioned, whatever could be the reason. Passive verb, when a verb changes from active to passive verb, or you make a active verb into passive verb, you go through three steps and the changes in certain things. So if you are making if Madi active into passive, you have a verb kataba, and if I ask you, could you please make kataba into passive, what you will do is simply follow this rule which is given here. Put a dhamma on the first letter of the verb, put a kasra on the second letter of the verb, and leave the last letter of the verb the way it was. So kataba will become kutiba, fataha will become futiha. We have done meaning quite many times today, so it's understood that kataba is he wrote, kutiba is it was written, fataha is he opened, and futiha means it was open. And the three steps which involves in making a verb from active to passive is you change the spelling of the verbs as we have seen before. First letter will get dhamma, second will get kasra, and you will leave the last letter as it is. So this was change number one, or step number one. Second step you will take is you will delete the doer. So Bilal is gone from here. Third, what you will do is you will bring the mafulun bihi and make it sit in the chair of the file. So these were three steps. With these three steps, this mafulun bihi, which is now sitting in the chair of the file, you will change its name from mafulun bihi to naib file. You will not call it mafulun bihi, you will call it naib file, and you will change the fatha into dhamma. You will change the fatha into dhamma because naib file is always marfu. This is what we have done today. We haven't done anything extra. So I hope with this quick recap, you can see it was a pretty simple chapter. Rather, in fact, this week, Alhamdulillah, we were able to وَمَا تَوْفِيقِ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, some of the Arab of the longer sentences as well. So with that, I hope all those who are asking for the revision or the recap, they have got the clarity. Second is this one. The doer, as we know, can be a ism zahir, apparent noun, or it can be a pronoun. So what will happen if the doer is the pronoun in the original sentence? So you have a verb, active verb, where you don't see the name of the doer, rather you see the pronoun. What will you do when you will make that active verb into the passive verb? This is something which will be coming in the exercises. We did not want to bring a lot of things in one day, in one lesson. However, you will receive this in your slide and you can read that. And once you will read it, you will understand that. I don't want to explain it now because those who are new to this topic, they may just get confused. So let everybody get hang of understanding what is active, what is passive, how a verb which is active is made into passive, and then we will see the details inshallah in upcoming lesson. That's about it, and this is the lesson we have done. So if there's nothing else, inshallah, we'll end the class, sisters. Well, today everybody is like has got a shopping list of questions. So why the file is deleted, or why we need a passive verb, or why passive verb is used? There are many reasons. So once again, let's go through that. Sometimes the person who did the action is irrelevant or unnecessary, or it is obvious, as we have said before. Why would the doer not matter? Maybe the action itself is more important than who did it. So, for example, if we say, "Futihal Masjidu عند الفجر." The masjid was opened at the Fajr time. Now, what is important in this context is that the masjid was opened at the Fajr time. Because somebody was asking, when was the masjid opened? And you said it was opened the Fajr time. Now, the question was about action in itself, not who opened the masjid. So here it is possibility that you don't use the uh, active verb, you use passive verb, and you don't really need to mention the doer. And it is also possible that you don't even know yourself who was the doer. How will you answer to someone if you don't know who was the doer? You can only say masjid was open in the Fajr time. You don't know who was the doer. They didn't ask. Even if they have asked, you don't know. So the important part was the opening of masjid, not who opened it. Another example you could see is the classroom was cleaned. You see, who cleaned it doesn't matter as long as it is clean. This is what your concern is. When the doer, one of the situation could be is actually unknown, like we have seen in our masjid example as well. So why the doer could be unknown? Maybe you did not see who did it, as was the case I explained earlier, or you received the information from somebody but without detail. Somebody said something to you, but they did not say who did it, and you are forwarding that information, not in a bad way, in a good way. We all know that we should not spread lies and rumors, and we should not tell other people what we are not sure of. So, but sometimes we know the things are sure that has happened, but we don't know who did it. So then this could be one reason when the doer is not known, and then you are using passive verb. Or the action has happened in the past without any witnesses. So action has happened, but there was nobody to see. So everybody just knew that has happened, but nobody knew who did it. For example, kusir al baba, the door was broken. You went to your school someplace else, and the door is broken, and somebody else will come and what happened? You will say the door was broken when I came in. You didn't know who did it, so how can you mention the name? So the person who broke it is not known, so you did not mention the doer. And sometimes it is also possible that you don't really want to mention the name of the person who has done that work, because maybe that's some action which is not liked one, right? So you don't even want to give that name a popularity by saying, oh, he has done that. So these are the reasons. Then there are some other reasons as well, but those will come in advanced books, so we really don't need to go into that. So I hope this suffice your thirst for knowledge in this topic. So inshallah, this will end the class. Remaining things we'll inshallah cover next time. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.